Hey, so if we begin, my name is Jonna Heikkilä. I manage the project called We Are Responsible Internationalization, under which today's lecture is organized on responsible retail. And you can see that this lecture is also being taped, so please, if you move around, then notice that, and especially in the back, if you are talking or discussing there, then remember that the taping is happening just next to you, so be aware of that. It will be on the tape. This one will be used for questions, and once you have those, so we'll throw this into the audience for questions. Okay, so we have a quite good group today. We have a multidisciplinary student group present. That's great. We have two visitors, two speakers today. First up is Anniina Nurmi, founder of the Nurmi Clothing, and talking about the possibilities in sustainable clothing industry. And then we have Anna Hageman-Riise, was that correct? And from Frosch. So we will have her talking about, can we title it as trade, not aid?
Yeah, that's fine.
And we can have a couple of questions there in between, but most of them at the end of the presentations. So please, welcome Anniina.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting me to talk about sustainable clothing industry. And I could start by telling a bit that why am I here and why, all in all, why am I interested in sustainability and combining it with fashion. I have been interested in making garments and, should I open it? No. Well, yeah, start again. So I have been interested in fashion for a long time, since I was a kid. And then when it was time to think about my profession and where to study, I applied to Lahti Institute of Design. And I really liked the studies. I did feel from the get-go that fashion was something for me. But then during like my second and third year, I started to question that, okay, I wanted to be like a conscious consumer, but how can I have those same values in my profession? And at first I thought that, okay, I'm going to switch to something totally different, like go to work in a charity or something similar to that. But then I was an exchange student in Amsterdam, and I read this book, Time in Design, Eternally Yours. It was more so about how to make really long-lasting and sustainable products in the field of not fashion, but product design. But then I understood that, okay, why couldn't these same things be also linked to fashion? So then I started to dig more deeply into this field, and that was in year 2006. And a lot has happened since then. Because then in 2006, there wasn't that much discussion about these matters, especially not in fashion or clothing industry. So I spent a lot of time Googling and reading books, which were already a few out there, also this one. And that became like my passion to be able to combine sustainability and fashion. And I graduated in 2007, and my thesis collection was a sustainable women's wear collection where I also shared like facts and knowledge about ecological and ethical way of producing and designing garments through my own process. But then after graduation, I started to work in a sportswear company called iSpeak in Lahti. So that was something totally different, but it really gave me like a good understanding and knowledge how a big clothing company works. It was a really, really good learning experience through those 4 years. But also during that time, as a hobby, I learned more and more and searched for more information. And after a year, it was in 2008, in spring 2008, I thought that, okay, perhaps all this information could be useful for others as well. Because especially in Finnish, there wasn't that much information out there about what means ecological and ethical clothing. So I started the Vihreät Vaatteet blog, meaning green clothes in English. And it was really nice to see that that information was useful for others as well. And there was really a need for this kind of information. And since then, I have also run a web store selling other eco-labels from different countries throughout Europe, and also been teaching and giving lectures about these subjects, and making quite a lot of design projects, mainly in workwear, also in which I can put into practice these sustainable values as well. But then it was in 2009 when I thought that, okay, I'm writing about different eco-labels and I sell other sustainable labels. But what kind of label would I do if I would do a label of my own? So that was the starting point of Nurmi Clothing label. And the first collection was launched in 2010. And it was a really teeny tiny collection at first, like a couple of garments for women made out of organic cotton and accessories from recycled materials. And at that point, all made in Finland. And like the core thing for this collection has always been that how can I combine like really clean-cut Scandinavian design and sustainable values. And sustainability here meaning like long-lasting ecological and ethical materials, ethical production process, but also that the garment is sustainable regarding its design. So it's timeless as it can be, designed in a way that it really fits and is comfortable to wear, and you feel really good wearing it. And when it comes to the different kind of collections, of course, throughout the years, the collection has become bigger, and it's a bigger collection. But many of the garments continue from one collection to another, because I think that one of the biggest problems nowadays is the fast pace of fashion cycles, and how we always have to produce new and new garments, even though the same garments could be used for like years and years. So the idea is that how can some of the garments always stay in the collection and be produced, but then there is always some to like give a fresh look to the whole collection. And yeah, as said at the beginning, the materials were mainly like recycled materials and organic cotton, but since then I have used quite a lot of hemp and organic cotton, for example, in jeans and blazers and shirts, and also more and more recycled materials as fibers. So not only like dead stock materials and such, but also like new materials which are made out of pre-consumer waste, meaning that you can use, for example, cutting waste from jersey factories or yarn waste from yarn factories. So that kind of waste material, you could say. But nowadays the technology is already so good that you can produce like really high quality materials also from 100% recycled materials. So that's really an interesting alternative to materials, because even though like organic cotton is one step closer to finding like better materials, but still it's not like the solution. Like the main thing is that it still needs quite a lot of land and a lot of water to grow. So there is so many different other alternatives that would be better. So that's why I have wanted to also test many different kind of materials in this collection. And what comes to like production, at first in Finland, but also quite a lot of production in Estonia, still locally produced, but in Estonia there is a lot of really good factories and a lot of knowledge about clothing production still. But I have to say that even though I have chosen that this collection is made locally, just as well production can be ethical if it's further away. So it's not that you would say that, for example, in China or Bangladesh or Asia, all in all, that you couldn't produce in a sustainable way. It's more so that the company really tells openly and transparently about the working conditions, and they work closely with the factories that they can really know what are the conditions. And yeah, transparency all in all is really important for me. And here is one example of one garment, the hemp jeans. So in each of the garments you can find all this information. So where does the material, where is it grown, where is it produced, and where the finished garment is cut and sewn. Because usually if there is only like one country in a garment, usually it's the place that it's finished or sewn, but there is so much more into in each garment, and especially in garments the production chain is quite long, and there is really many different kinds of steps to it. So this is why I think it's really important to open up the production chain totally, because this way the consumer also can know more and make their decisions that what do I want to wear, what aspects regarding sustainability do I want to emphasize. But this is the way that I have been doing what I have been telling now for a bit over 5 years now. And the way that I have designed and produced the garments for Nurmi collection has been quite linear. First I think of a design, or mainly, first I think of also a material, ecological, ethical, long-lasting material. And then I think of what would be the best garment, best design for that particular material. Then it's produced, then it's sold, then it's used for a shorter or longer period of time, and then recycled or thrown away. But still, the production process itself is quite linear, as said. Even though I do think that in what way can I make the garment as long-lasting as possible, but still, I think my mindset still has been in this kind of more old-fashioned and normal way, how we think of production, all in all. But during the years, I have realized that there's more to it than to just think about the linear way of production. Also when it comes to design or production, but also use. And when I think of this kind of circular way of designing, producing, using garments. At first, you could think that design is not the most important thing. If you think about circular economy, usually people think about waste streams or how to recycle better. And of course, that's really important as well, of course. But in the long run, I think even more important is to think about the whole cycle, and especially the use, and in what way can it be designed in a way that it can really go in a circular way. So in this sense, I think the design is the key to really understand and implement these aspects into garments. And this means that we really have to but really change the system, because when we thought about sustainable fashion, it was more so that we changed the materials to be a bit better, for example, cotton to organic cotton. Or we changed the production place or the production method to be a bit more ethical. You pay a bit bigger wage, or you have a bit better working conditions. And of course, I'm not saying that these are all super, super important. Of course they are. But I don't think that those kind of small things will really, really make a difference. Because I think the core problem is our consumption, all in all. If we don't value our garments, and if we don't understand what's behind all of the garments we are now wearing, and we always think that, okay, we can always buy more, and then we can sell, for example, second-hand, or some way they are always recycled. And if we only think about making the recycling better, then we are not figuring out the real problem and the real issue behind the garments. So if we would produce more and cherish our garments, and perhaps have a little less in our wardrobes, but the garments that we would have would be like super high quality and really the ones that you really love, then you wouldn't have to have those tops for a couple of euros that you will only wear for one night. So in this sense, it's a bigger issue than just to like make the system that is currently the norm a bit better, but to really think about it in a new way. And I and also the Nurmi label, I'm still in the process of thinking that what are the best ways how to implement these ideas of changing the system. And one test that we made last year was a Nurmi Clothing library. It was located in our store in Lahti, and there you could rent our garments for 2 weeks a period, and this way you could have like high quality, nice garments in your wardrobe, but you didn't have to worry about how to repair or recycle or store them. You could only enjoy wearing those lovely garments. So in this sense, I think one solution of making the using phase like more efficient, not only efficient but even better for the consumer as well, because for smaller amount of money you could get more, better quality, more garments, but with a smaller environmental footprint. So I think that those kind of renting services are really an interesting way of changing our mindsets towards from owning to really using garments. And there is other examples of this kind of libraries also here in Finland and abroad as well. And that test of ours was running for half a year now, but it got really a lot of positive feedback. And even though it's quite a new thing still to rent garments, so mostly we really had to explain that how does it work and in concrete, what does it mean? But still I feel that there is a big possibility in it. And I think this was like the first step of thinking that, okay, we need to do something totally different with Nurmi. And at the end of last year, I decided that we are going to take a time out. We are not going to produce new collections. We are not going to sell garments for now. The last fall-winter collection was the last collection for now, because we want to rethink the whole concept. And in order to be able to do so, we cannot do it both at the same time, to produce and design new garments and sell them, and at the same time really have time to figure out what kind of concept would be the best one for the future. So this is why Nurmi is now taking a time out, and we have had many different kinds of concepts and still figuring out that what's like the best way. But now the main thing is really to concentrate on renting and leasing services and how to make a really like big impact is not to only like offer garments from Nurmi label to be leased, but to be able to offer a platform for any clothing label. So this kind of service would really be available to a bigger audience, and to be able to really make it into mainstream as well. That is not for only for a couple of clothing library members, but to make it in a bigger scale. So this is now something that we are now developing. It's not ready yet, but soon I think we will know more about it. But if you are interested in knowing what's to come, so then you can follow me or follow Nurmi Clothing in social media. So you will be the first one to know what's to come. And with this new concept, we really also want to involve all of you guys and all of our former and new customers to be able to really make the concept as good as possible. So if you're interested in some way being part of this development process as well, so I do think that you should check our social media as well. But yeah, thank you for this. And if you have any questions, so I'd be happy to answer more. Thanks.
Presentation ready. We can take a couple of questions for Anniina. Was there one there?
Okay, I have to hold it.
Yeah,
it's a microphone.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. So one of the questions that just came to my mind, as a designer, what are the characteristics that will make you different from others?
Regarding the...
Yeah, according to your collection, let's say that. And this is, the first one. And the second one, what's next in your career? I mean, in that collection. What's your plan for the futuristic points of view?
Well, if I think of Nurmi collection design-wise, I think the really the characteristic is to make really clean-cut Scandinavian design, which is not that you. Even though I talked a lot about sustainability, and that's not seen in the garments. Of course, they have to stand out by themselves, and the design is always first, and then underneath there is the sustainability. But yeah, design-wise, as long-lasting and really clean cut. It's a bit cliché to say less is more, but I think less is more also when it comes to design. And then you asked about what's next. So yeah, I said we are now rethinking the whole concept and taking a time out. So I can't yet say what this means for Nurmi. So it might be that now I'm concentrating on the leasing concept, and then let's see how these two can be combined as well. But I can't say anything for sure at this point, because we just it was in end of last year when we took the time out, and now we are still in the concept phase.
Okay, I think you are ready already. Yeah, sure. Any other questions for Anniina? Well, I have one more. I like talking about sustainability and ethical values, and I know that there's a lot of business students here as well. How do you see this in the future? as a competitive asset? Will it be such, it is still like talked about a lot, but will it really be an asset for the companies themselves?
It's a good question. And I have to say that one reason that I decided to take the time out was also a financial one. Because even though we were able to grow and get retailers and get international retailers as well, we weren't able to grow as much as we would have needed to be able to really be financially sustainable as well. And that's super important as well, not to only talk about environmental or ethical issues, but also the financial sustainability. But this doesn't mean that I would think that, okay, because I did a sustainable collection, it wasn't financially sustainable. Of course, it can't be. It can be just as successful financially as well. But I think still we are in the phase that many consumers, they do appreciate these values, but it's not seen in their consumption habits. So I think it has been a bit slower, this how this has evolved. It has been a bit slower.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Anniina Nurmi and I'm a research group leader here in Turku University of Applied Sciences. Just one brief question. What are the companies you look up to, that you sort of from maybe different branches that you follow or admire? Or
let's see. Well, there is different kinds of, well, for example, Patagonia, because they have been doing their own thing for I don't know, decades already. I don't know how, like 20 years. So they have been really good in paving the way in outerwear, but still in other ways as well. And one other Honest Buy, based in Netherlands, is it? Yeah, because they have been really good in transparency. So they open up like from the teeny tiny, all the parts in their production process. So I think that should be like the way that every company does, but unfortunately not at least yet. But yeah, at least, for example, those two.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Anniina, and you can think of more questions for her to have those at the end of this.